Today we're reading from EVERNIGHT by Ross Mackenzie. We're reading a chapter called The Clockwork Bird. It's the 21st chapter. It was late that afternoon when Lara discovered the object that would change her life forever. Her mood was black because the ring she'd been so pleased about had proved worthless, and she'd been forced to go back into the sewers and look for more. But even her most reliable toshing spots now seemed empty. Curse all that rain, she thought, and curse the swollen sewer streams for washing away anything good. With the tide almost in, she sloshed back towards the surface, muttering under her breath. And that was when her foot caught on something hard and square in the water. Lara's dark mood evaporated at once, and she put her toshing head back on and held her lamp to the surface. The water was milky brown and no hint of clarity, so she hung her lamp around her neck and leaned over, reaching her hand into the murky stream. Her fingertips traced the sewer bricks down there, leaving channels in the film of scum that covered the underwater bricks. And then she touched something smooth and square. The box, that's what it felt like, was stuck good and proper, wedged into some crack or hole that she'd never encountered before. As she worked, she took a mental note of the place. A hole like this was bound to be a trap for all sorts of good things. Her nimble fingers worked around the box, gently probing and pushing and pulling until it loosened and broke free. Lara brought it out from under the sewer stream. Water had filled the box, and she turned it sideways, letting it empty through the crack along the hinges. She held the box up to the warm light of her lamp. It was made of dark, polished wood. There was nothing fancy about it, no carvings or decoration, save for a tiny pair of golden wings clasping the lid shut. As Lara examined the box, her heart began to thump. There was nothing quite like the sparkling, intoxicating feeling of discovery, of fishing something unexpected and unusual out of the dark waters. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the clasp and unfastened it. She opened the lid. Her imagination had already run away, filled with thoughts of jewels and gold and glittering treasure. But when the lid opened and the warm light of her lamp poured into the box, what was waiting inside made Lara's breath catch in her chest. It was a bird. Not a real bird, of course, but one made of wood and gold and clockwork. It was the size of a sparrow, with golden wings, every feather a slither of metal as fine as a moonbeam. Metal cogs and gears whirred inside the open cavity of its wooden chest, like the inside of a complicated clock. Its head was carved wood with a golden beak and perfect sparkling sapphires for eyes. "Hello," whispered Lara. "Where have you come from, my little friend?" She lifted the clockwork creature out of the box. It was light and delicate, and she handled it with great care, stroking the cold metal of its wings and the jewels of its eyes. Her heart was giddy and light. This was a wondrous object, a shining, magical treasure. Never in her life had the sewers rewarded her with anything like this. A voice in her head said, "I think I might be rich." Then another thought barged its way into her mind. The strangler. What had Joe said again? What was it the strangler had been looking for? A box. Lara stared at the objects in her hands, the bird and the box, and suddenly she was aware of how alone she was, how small and fragile in those tunnels. As quickly and gently as she could, she stowed the bird back in place, closed the clasp, and slipped the box into her toshing bag before escaping back above ground. Later that night, as Lara slept in the quiet of her old opera house attic, something inside her toshing bag began to move. The box that Lara had discovered was still in there, but in all the jostling of getting out of the sewer, the golden clasp had come undone, and the box had fallen open. The little bird, the one made of wood and clockwork and shining gold, lay beneath the box under Lara's crowbar. In the dark of the bag, the bird's sapphire eyes sparkled to life, blazing blue. The clockwork bird moved its head this way and that. Then it wriggled out of the tight spot, causing the metal bar to bump to the floor. The bird probed the toshing bag with its beak, looking for a way out. When it could not find one, it thrust its head forward, cutting through the dark, damp material, and it squeezed out of the hole. The bird hopped around the labyrinth of props, feet clicking on the boards, giving the odd object an exploratory peck. Then it took to the air, swooping through the dark, eyes scanning blue light around the place as it ducked and spun, coming to rest from time to time on high perches. When it landed on Lara's chest, she let out a sleepy sigh, but did not wake. The bird stood, twitching its head, seemingly watching the girl, rising and falling with her every breath. Through her nightshirt, Lara's wooden locket thrummed. After a while, the mechanical creature walked around in a little circle, settled down, and tucked its head under its wing. Then, almost as if it was drifting off to sleep, the light in its eyes went out.